Hello SGD Sacred Geometry Decoded. The full playlist to this series will be in the description. I'll also put the links to these last 4 episodes, sub-episodes of this, or sub-parts of this particular episode. And the foot, the Egyptian raw cubit and the meter, and how it relates to the second, and man is the measure of all things. Quick recap again, I'll put the Alan Green CPAK trailer, must watch, so much beautiful information in there. The margins of error, we're talking about the width of a hair, separating these from essentially perfection, which is until very modern sophisticated measuring equipment, this was well above perfection. Great work by Alan Green again. This video is 15,000 views after 2 years, what can you say? Imperial units, how they break down, so feet, miles, yards, inches are well known, but there are these other subdivisions or emerging from the imperial system. We're going that a lot more into that in future episodes, and linking the Indus Valley civilization and later civilizations through this metrology, through the size of the Earth, relationships of Sun, Earth and Moon, the second and pendulums. Okay, so and this will be the meter. So, okay, we all covered this last few ones. We're talking about this double vesica Pisces here. Gods of weights and measures, astronomy, geometry, architecture, such as Thoth. And the relationship in wonderful geometric mathematical constants, how these blend over via the foot, the cubit, the meter, and the second. That was all mentioned in early ones. As a quick recap, you'll find also it's a unit of measure, but also it's proportion built into both the Great Pyramid and the capstone, which next to the Red Pyramid, which was 1 meter high. Again, differences of a human hair. What you'll find is, we'll do that in future episodes because there's so many links. This capstone here. Okay, but now for this one, I've got to get out the door. But again, so back to this 1 meter geometry, which is the vesica, and which leads to the seed of life, mentioned earlier. Parts of this episode, how it's all this wonderful geometry connects, and through units of measure. So 1 meter high, and again this one just doing an intro into this because we're going to get into some heavy stuff and connections between some anyway, quarter meter, half meter, 3/4 and full meter, how this joins. This will all link to the geometry astronomy from previous episodes. So let's begin. So 3 grains is 1 inch. Now 75 centimeters, 29.527559 inches, or exactly the same number of grains at 25 centimeters. Few episodes, the last few ones, have been talking about various types of months, such as the synodic month or the sidereal month. This is a synodic month. 1 orbit of the moon around the Earth in relation to the sun. It's a relationship of sun, Earth and moon. This symbolism being all constant across time, across cultures. It's so important. The sun and the moon, this is obvious. It's natural time systems. So it's 29.531 days on average between full moons. Now, because of elliptical orbits, you will find that it will pass through 29.52, so you could just round that off to 29.53. This number will be correct at certain times. This is an average. This is not every month. This is as good as you're going to get. So full moons, or the synodic month, we have this number, and again, right, this is just the opening to this, linked to the meter, and how the meter and the imperial allegedly modern English system is shown here, and again so much more to come in regards to this. So then we have lunar years. So the Chinese lunar year, the Jewish calendar, the Islamic calendar, they base their lunar year on 12 full moons, which works out to be on average 354.37 days, give or take. Well, as we saw earlier, there are 3 grains per inch and 4 poppy seeds, or lines as they're sometimes called, per grain. So 29.53, let's just round it off of a moment, inches equals 354.3307, etc. lines. That is, again, well within the margins of what a lunar year is. So we have the synodic month, and we also have the lunar year connected again this is not a one-off. This will actually go so much deeper and will actually connect several units of ancient measure at very specific, very geometric, very metrological timekeeping units. And that's where it comes together. So one is a coincidence. So sun, earth and moon, natural time. So you already have the lunar year or the synodic month joined in there. Now that same number, or 29.53, and again because it's an elliptical orbit, if you multiply the diameter of the Earth times this number, you'll get the distance from the Earth to the moon. Measures of length, ratios of distance, natural, built into natural timekeeping systems, because the synodic month or the lunar year is natural time as well. Now the computers, okay, so again, the 12-hour clock is leading to the 12 full moons of a lunar year, or the 12 calendar months of a solar year. And these discrete, well, it just all comes back together. So the measuring length and measuring time, just like what we saw earlier, the 1 meter pendulum. Okay, now let's look. This is from the Secret Symbols of the Rosicrucians, printed in the late 1700s. We see exactly the same geometry here. It's exactly the same. The sun and the moon. Okay, now Lucifer's and Jesus, but well, we have both. Well, Lucifer translates to light in Latin, but what we have is a nice illustration of the sun and the darkness of the moon, with Earth in the middle, the temple of man, it could be described as well. So that's just one era, and so sun, earth and moon. You'll find this symbol where across time, cross cultures, cross religions, it's sun and moon. Now that's not all, because again, so back to the meter and the 1 meter pendulum and the 30-degree angle, which you'll notice creates a Templar cross. Okay, so here's another image from the Symbols of the Rosicrucians in this Kabbalistic knowledge, which includes salt, sulfur and mercury as a symbol, but also ignis, aqua, terra and air. Air, fire, water, earth, the 4 elements as well. But also the sun and the moon, but also tincture, which is a alchemical process, a tincture. And you'll see so many, well, these are all alchemical symbols here. So some might recognize them immediately as planetary symbols, but they also translate into alchemical symbols. But the important part is this down here, where we see even the 12 signs of the zodiac. And we also, so we have nice, so this division and this division, but then we have, for instance, here it's divided in half, here it's divided in half, here again, and here again. So you could say Polus Antarctica, Polus Arctic, and the equinoxes here on either side. And the 12 signs of the zodiac. But, so sticking with this and the Templar cross, which creates that 30-degree angle, which is so important to measuring 1 second via the meter. It's not an arbitrary angle. So let's just zoom in close up of this. Now notice, okay, we have chaos as well in between. So we have these periods of chaos, but where we have, for instance, this section, see how it's cut in half, this section cut in half, chaos element, natural elementa, yeah, okay, but now 12-hour clock. So if you want to do the geometry which leads to the Templar cross comes from the vesica and the seed of life. You create an equilateral triangle, then the 6-pointed star, the Star of David, or the hexagram, and that leads to divisions of 12. That leads to a 24-pointed star. So under here we see 24 points, and there we see that which creates this angle, the Templar cross. So back to this image. If we transpose, put that on top. Notice how even it matches that yellow circle. So not only does that divisions through the north, south, east, west axis meet, but also the size of these rings surrounding it as well. So meter, time, second, cubit, alchemical, hermetic knowledge, the Rosicrucians, the early theosophers, not to be confused with the more modern version, because Bacon and Dee and the early theosophy, had a different taste to the one that gets is most commonly known now. But however, it was the earliest craft guilds, or which led to, for instance, Freemasons as well, and these symbols which are so important to them, the astronomical timekeeping symbols. It's all, again, layer upon layer of this particular geometric, metrological measuring, weights and measures, but also timekeeping. Time is a ephemeral. It's very, it's very esoteric to measure time, and yes, that requires an understanding of the laws of nature. So geometry, measuring length, measuring time, and so from these very basic tools, you can extract so much information. It's not just the quadrivium is a system of learning, and where all things come together. Unfortunately, our system now is you go to do a science class, and in science you never talk about music. In music, you never really talk about geometry, and in everything is separated. But this old method, the quadrivium, which, like, it's not making it up, it was a system. It's all embedded in there, and since it's so, well, at the moment, everything that I've been covering in this series in regards to the pyramid, the meter, timekeeping, was in this beautiful building here, and you'll find it in other cathedrals as well, and other ancient temples, and it's still being used in modern major cathedrals, public buildings such as the US Capitol building, the Parliament House here in Canberra. It's still being used, and it is part of a system, and just not a tip of a hat to the beautiful old, bloody tragedy it is. But everything that was there, I'll do a Notre Dame video in a couple of days and show you everything that I've covered, especially in these last 4 episodes, whether it's 864, all these sacred numbers, these sacred geometric constants, proportions, timekeeping, astronomy, everything that's in the pyramid. Not actually everything, but the hardcore, the base of this knowledge was also in Notre Dame, but it's still there in Beauvais, it's still there in Chartres Cathedral, and these other places as well. But if it's going to be rebuilt, it needs to be rebuilt properly to give this justice. Anyway, with that, sad day, and have a good one. Well, yeah, it's a sad day. Well, it's still, what can you do? Have a good one.